Number 7, Squidbeard has a question. Hi, Pastor Mike. Verses in Proverbs seem like unrelated thoughts. Their vague quality makes it hard to know how to interpret them correctly. How do you determine the context of these verses? Well, it takes wisdom. And so it's interesting how Proverbs describes itself as wisdom, and it says the wise will increase in understanding. So I think that it's smart of us to understand the wisdom of Proverbs takes work, and there isn't a single rule you do across the book of Proverbs. But there are some sections. Let me just add some clarity here. Proverbs, especially the first several chapters, like, I don't know, 6 chapters or 9 chapters of Proverbs, has lots of big sections, but you can tell it by reading it. The later sections of Proverbs after that, when you get into the individual sayings, sometimes they're connected and sometimes they're not. I'll give you one example of a connected, if I can find it. It's one that I particularly like. Maybe I can search for it this way. This example of proverb you might not think is connected, but it is. I'm trying to remember what chapter it is. Oh, I know what I should search. Voila. Through the brilliant abilities of a search engine, okay, here's a section of Proverbs 26. A large section, it's like 12 verses that are all connected. So I'm just going to read straight through it with a tiny few comments here and there, and you can see why I would say this is connected, but much of it's not. Okay, much of the book is not. As snow in summer and rain in harvest, so honor is not fitting for a fool. It doesn't snow in summer. It's not right. It shouldn't snow in summer. Plus, it's harmful, right, to the crops. Rain in harvest is also harmful to the crops, and it's out of season, so it's not good to give honor to fools. A lot of our social media does this. We give honor to fools all the time. We keep giving them stages. A lot of popular rappers are like this. So verse 2, like a flitting sparrow, like a flying swallow, so a curse without cause shall not alight. It's not going to work. It's not going to land, so to speak. A whip for the horse, and a bridle for the donkey, and a rod for the fool's back. Now, have you noticed not as much in verse 2, but definitely in verse 1, there's an issue of a fool. In verse 3, a whip for the horse. The horse is a dumb animal. It requires a whip. A bridle for the donkey. It has to be controlled with bridle. It's not smart enough to follow commands. And a rod for the fool's back because he won't listen, so he ends up suffering. That's the point. Again, fool is the topic. Don't answer a fool according to his folly, lest you also be like him. Right? You can become a fool when you respond to fools. I've done this. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in your own eyes. I've actually heard skeptics say, well, see, the Bible's got contradictions. And I'm like, you got to, like, try to be smart when you read the Bible. I don't mean to offend, but come on, man. Yeah, the point here is that whether you answer the fool or not, it's going to be trouble. If you don't answer him, he just goes off thinking, see, you didn't answer. I've had this happen on Twitter. Someone posts a response to me, and then someone else tweets, Mike Winger went silent, and he didn't respond. And I'm just like, okay. I mean, this is the point. If you don't answer, they'll just be like, see, I'm right. If you do answer, you can end up becoming a fool as well. The point here is that answering people who are behaving foolishly is dangerous for you, and you should do it very carefully. But again, fool is the focus. He who sends a message by the hand of a fool cuts off his own feet and drinks violence. Because whenever someone's relaying your information about you to others, you need them to have wisdom, lest they misrepresent you and cause problems between you and the person, right? So don't send a message by the hand of a fool. Like the legs of the lame that hang limp is a proverb in the mouth of fools. Fools don't even understand how to use wisdom. They even quote Proverbs wrong. Like one who binds a stone in a sling is he who gives honor to a fool. It's dangerous. You're going to cause harm. It's like a weapon you've given them. Like a thorn that goes into the hand of a drunkard is a proverb in the mouth of fools. You know, you see how they're all connected. The great God who formed everything gives the fool his hire and the transgressor his wages. This is metaphorically, I think, speaking of the fools going to get judgment God will deal with them. Verse 11, as a dog returns to his own vomit, right? The dog, it didn't sit right, so it threw it up, but then the dog eats it again. Kind of a dumb practice. So a fool repeats his folly. You sinned, you did something foolish, it messed up your life, you're going to go do it again. Here's verse 12, where it hits its final landing point. Do you see a man wise in his own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than for him. Verses 1 through 11, here's my quick summary. Here, verses 1 through 11 give you this: being a fool is the worst thing. You don't want to be a fool. Don't be a fool. Being a fool is so bad. And there's people going, good thing I'm not a fool. They're reading verses 1 through 11. Good thing I'm wise. Good thing I walk with wisdom and I understand the Proverbs and I know, oh yeah, I'm not a fool. I'm a wise man. Verse 12 hits you between the eyes and says, are you wise in your own eyes? As bad as it is to be a fool, that fool has more hope than you. Because the worst kind of folly is self-righteousness, self-wisdom, overestimation, because it's pride. Pride is worse even than being a fool, and being a fool is pretty bad, by the way. So do you see how it's connected? How it was like verses 1 through 11 are a wind-up, and then verse 12 is like a punch. But you get there by seeing there's a connected section. I would recommend, if you're reading Proverbs, not to try to make things connected that aren't. Just observe and see if there's a consistent theme in a section, then read it that way. And if you don't notice a consistent theme, then read it by itself. And that's totally fine. There's another example here. I love Proverbs. The lazy man says there's a lion in the road and a fierce lion is in the streets. As a door turns on its hinges, so does a lazy man on his bed. The lazy man buries his hand in the bowl. It wearies him to bring it back to his mouth. The lazy man is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can answer sensibly. Here's a section on lazy men, but it also connects to the previous section on folly. Because being wise in your own eyes is worse than just general foolishness. And the lazy man, he's wise in his own eyes. Have you ever wondered at the idea that laziness, the cause of laziness, a root issue with those who are lazy is pride? Think about that for a while. There's the book of Proverbs for you, giving you wisdom. I think Proverbs is awesome. Read it slowly, read it thoughtfully, and it may take you 30 years to feel like you've wrapped your head around most of it, and that's okay.